Hi, everybody. Pam here from Around the Table Yarns with our second session of the Tunisian Sampler Shawl. This will be the last time that this class is pre-recorded. Going forward, I'll be able to do them live. So we'll be in the shop at 10 a.m. on March 24th. And then again on March 24th, that Monday at 6 p.m. on Zoom. And we'll have a live Zoom class where you can ask questions, and that will also be recorded and posted. So you'll be able to go back and look at it. I much prefer to do it with people. It's a lot more fun than doing it to a camera by myself. So I look forward to that next month. This time, we're going to do two sections. So I figured before the shawl got too big, and I knew we were going to have to double up some of the stitches, let's do two. So today we're going to do section 2, the Pure Purl, and section 3, Scratched. So I'm going to demonstrate both of those. But before I switch over to the camera, I want to show you I've done both of those sections on my shawl. So I've got the simple stripes there at the top, and then the yellow is the pure purl, and then the scratched. So I just love the way this texture is coming out. I'm loving my colors. You can see how that center stitch, that spine lines up all the way. Again, I'm using the stone washed from Scapejus. It's a lovely sport weight, but with just 3 sections, this shawl is going to be a really nice size. I think it's going to be lovely, and it has just a really squishy, lovely drape to it. So I'm really looking forward to this. All right, so that's my shawl. I am going to demonstrate these sections so that we don't have to do it. I have to show so many stitches on my little swatch. So I'll just be adding stitches onto the little swatch as we go. So you don't have to watch me go all the way across a row. All right, let's switch to the camera. Okay. And I'm going to work really hard to get this stay not blurry and keep it centered. So I appreciate all the feedback we got last time, and I think I've fixed the issues. Okay, so as a reminder, I'm going to show you how you start a new color. So I've left my last of my return pass. I've left the last 2 loops because I'm going to do those in my new color. And I did check ahead of time that I have the same number of stitches on both sides and my center stitch is marked. Okay. In the Pure Purl section here, and let's make that a little clearer. There we go. Okay. It is just one pattern row. It's not a combination of rows. Again, remember every pattern row does include the return pass in order to finish the entire row. Okay. Now, before you move on, before we start the purl stitch, I believe all of the sections are going to have a transitional row, which allows us to add the new color. My dog is helping. Add a new color before we add the new stitch. So we're going to be doing a transitional row in our new color, color C. That says the same as pattern row 1. And if you go back to pattern row 1, it is essentially the increase and then simple stitching across, doing a center increase, simple stitching across to the end and doing another increase. So it's just your basic increase row in simple stitch. Okay, so we're going to do that first to get our new color. And what that does is it allows us to then transition to the stitch. Show you on this one. It allows us to transition to the color without also switching stitches. So it makes a really nice smooth transition. And then we'll do the same thing when we transition here. We'll do a simple stitch row. So then we'll be working the new stitch into its own color as opposed to a previous color. So it allows those stitches to really stand out and not overlap previously colored stitches. Okay. So don't forget your transition rows. So that's what we're going to do first. And I hope I don't have to yell at my dogs. They're in here trying to help. I don't need a tail that long anymore. Okay, reminder how we change colors. We're going to wait until the very last yarn over. We're going to do our last yarn over in our new color, and I just take a loop it over my hook, kind of hold it and pull it through. And that allows the previous row to be finished in the old color, and I've pulled up a loop of my new color. And now what I want to do is get my tails out of the way. So the tail of the old with the tail of the new, I just kind of hold together, keep my stitches together. All right, and then I'm going to work a transition row. So I'm going to start with a full stitch and then simple stitch across. My dog Herschel is here, and he is trying to get my attention by picking up everything he can off the floor that he knows he's not supposed to have. He's doing it very quietly, hoping that I will notice and then pay attention to him. If you have a lab, you know. And he loves paper, loves to recycle. Okay, so I'm here to the center stitch. So I'm going to do my center increase. So remember, we make a full stitch first. And here is my center stitch. I've got the stitch markers in the front leg, and there's the back leg. So I'm going to do a knit stitch. I'm going to go in between the front and the back leg, pull up a loop. That's the knit stitch. And that's my new center. Let's mark that. And then on the other side, we'll make another full stitch. All right. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 on this side. Here's my center, and there's the first of this side. So I'm hoping for 12 on this side. So I've got 1, that's 2, 3. I'm not looking forward to the point where we have a lot of stitches on here and we have to count, but we'll come up with a little tip or trick to make that a little easier. Here's my last simple stitch. Again, I do a full stitch here and then the end stitch into the chain 1 from the previous return pass. And I'm hoping for 12 on this side. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Good news. Okay, so return pass, start with the chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have a nice row of simple stitch in our new color where we can make our purl stitches. And the purl stitches will stand out without overlapping into, it would be a very cool effect. And I'll show you at some point what it looks like when you go into another color. But for this shawl, not so much. Again, you just go right over keep your marker in the front. I know sometimes it likes to swing around to the back. Okay. So there's my return pass. And now I'm ready to purl. Okay. So I'm going to do this slow. I have found I found that because I've done this stitch several times and my hands have just kind of found a little trick to make it work. So I'm going to do it very slow and kind of methodically so you can really understand what's happening, but you might find your own way to let the hook do most of the work for you. I'm hoping that you'll find that. All right, so the pattern row says that we're going to be doing is skip the first bar. So we always skip this first one here and make a full stitch, Tunisian full stitch, because we're always increasing. into the first space, and then we're going to TPS, which is Tunisian purl, into the marked to the marked stitch, then work our center increase, purl stitch to the end, full stitch, and return pass. So here's how you do the purl. If you are a knitter, this will make sense to you if you've done knitting. Instead of keeping our yarn at the back, we want the yarn to be forward. Okay? We want the yarn forward to now I have to do it my way first. So we want the yarn forward of the hook, okay? So I'm bringing the yarn forward and I want the hook to come from behind before I enter the stitch. So my yarn is forward and then I go into the stitch, but I want to take the yarn to the back to pull up a loop. Okay, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do it again several times. And what you get is a little like bump, which is typically what we refer to as a purl. There's a little purl bump there. Okay. I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to bring the yarn forward. I'm just going to bring it forward first. I'm going to enter the stitch. Then I want to take the yarn back to yarn over and pull it through. There is a tendency for this to be a little tight because you're moving that yarn. So really you will have to work on your tension on this one. So I said I had a little trick. What I end up doing is I end up instead of bringing the yarn forward, I take the hook behind because I want it behind the yarn. I want the yarn to be in front of the hook, enter my stitch, and then bring it around. Yarn over and pull it through. And this will have a lot to do with how you hold and tension your yarn. This might be a little more difficult, but if you take the hook behind, that's eliminating one step. Enter the stitch, and then take that yarn to the back, yarn over, and pull it through. Let me pull out a little more yarn here. Sorry. Okay, let's do this again. So this is how I hold my yarn. I know people have asked before. Take it over my pinky and over my index finger. So it's kind of running through my hands, and I can stop it anytime to adjust my tension, but it will also pull smoothly without pulling too fast. So again, I palm up over my pinky, turn my hand over, and take my index finger under. I think the most important part is that it comes over your index finger, because then it's there to let the hook do the work. Okay, so I'm taking the hook behind so that the yarn is in front, entering the stitch, swinging that yarn to the back to do the yarn over, and this is where it can feel tight. So you'll feel it when you start it. And we're going to purl all the way across. Okay. And I was just teaching a little girl today how to crochet. And when I teach, I use it with adults too, but particularly with kids. I call these the pinchers, your thumb and your middle finger. And that's what holds the fabric and opens up that tunnel that you can pull the hook through. Your pinchers are really important here. So if you've not explored the idea of using pinchers, I highly recommend it. Kids love it. Yeah. And it just allows you to open up that stitch to allow your hook to pull through. Okay. I know when I first started doing this, there was a whole lot of bringing the yarn forward, sliding the stitch in, taking the yarn back, and yarning over. And those are the steps. And that's absolutely what you should do if you're not comfortable with it initially. But I encourage you to find your own rhythm to this. Okay, so now we're to the center stitch. And I'm going to do a center increase the same way we always have. No difference here. So make a full stitch, make a knit stitch into the center, take my marker out, make another full stitch. I always find this second full stitch sometimes a little hard to get in there. And put my marker back. Now, if I've done this right, I should have an even number of stitches on my right-hand side. So let's just double check that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Because I added a stitch here and I added a stitch here. Okay, so I'm on the right track. And now back to purling. So yarn, that yarn in front. So it's covering, it's coming across the bar and then yarning over and pulling through. Into the stitch, take it to the back, pull it through. And by that yarn coming forward, it makes that little bump. I'm not going to lie, I'm glad this is early on in the pattern because this is not, because there's a lot of movement here, it does make my hands a little tired. So I'm glad the rows are fairly short in doing this. All right. Make sure you're hitting all of those bars. Don't skip any. With the moving of the yarn back and forth, it could be easy to miss something. And if it's getting too tight, give yourself a little break there, loosen it up a little. And there's one more. And then I'm going to do a full stitch and an end stitch as usual. Okay, so I should have 14 on this side. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Great. Return pass is exactly the same. Yarn over, chain 1. And then yarn over, pull through 2. And be generous here. Don't keep it tight because you know you're going to have to go into this row again. So if those stitches felt tight when you made them, this is your opportunity to be a little looser on your return pass. Right. Keep that stitch marker in the front as you come to your center increase. Okay. Return, like I said, your return pass is always the same. Okay. So that is the Pure Purl. It's just one row that you're going to repeat, and you get this lovely, clearly different than the simple stitch. I'll do a couple here so you can see what it looks like, but I want to move on to the other one. I'll do a couple more on top of it so you can see how they look. Full stitch, yarn forward, and purl, and purl, and purl. There is a nice rhythm to it. Let's do a couple more. Oh, I could show you on my finished shawl too. Okay, there you go. So it makes a really nice pattern. You can see it here as well. It looks nice. Back looks pretty much the same, a little bit different. And that is the Pure Purl. Okay. So you're going to do that 4 more times. So a total of 5 of these purl rows. And then, so you'll have a total of 113 stitches. If you're not counting all the way along, do yourself a favor and count as you start a new section so that it works out for you. If you find you're missing a stitch or you need to add one, add an extra full stitch somewhere along the way on the side that you need it. All right, I'm going to trim that. I don't need it. And we're going to go on to scratched. Again, we're going to do a transition row. So I do my last yarn over with my new color. Let's keep those together. And I'm just going to go, I'm just going to go just past the center. And there's my full stitch, my increase. And then oh, oh, you're right. Simple stitch across. It's like, oh, am I supposed to be purling? Okay. All right. Let's go do our full stitch and our knit stitch and our full stitch. And I'll do one more. Okay. And then so that was my center right there. And then I'm just going to return pass back. George says hello, and he would like his mom to come and play with him now. I feel like I have to hold my hands very awkwardly for the camera, and it doesn't go quite as smoothly as when I'm sitting in my chair, but okay. All right, so that's our transition row into our new color. Okay. All right. The scratched section is going to be a combination of knit stitches and simple stitches. We're going to alternate them across. Okay. So our pattern row, again, we're going to skip the first one. We're going to make our full stitch into the space. Okay. And then we're going to knit stitch into the next stitch. Okay. So here's our next bar right here. So I'm going to go between the front and the back bar. I'm going to insert my hook and push it back, pull up a loop. Whoop, I did the space and not the, let's try again. There we go. Pull up a loop. So that was a knit stitch. And then I'm going to simple stitch. So the next one, I'll simple stitch as usual. So I'm going to alternate knit and simple and knit and simple and knit and simple and knit and simple, knit, simple, and knit, simple, and knit. And I am to the marked stitch. So I'm going to make my full stitch. I'm going to make my center knit stitch. I'll make my full stitch on the other side. And once you pass, excuse me, once you've done your center increase, let's get that marked. Once you get to your center increase, you're going to pick up again with doing the knit stitch first. So I've done my full stitch, so now I'm going to do a knit stitch. And I would alternate knit, simple all the way down. And then I would do my full stitch at the end, my end stitch, and then do my return pass. So let me just go ahead and return pass here. So we can get back. And you can see what it looks like when you've done a second row of this. So that's your row. You're going to repeat the same thing. Knit, simple, knit, simple, knit, simple, knit, simple. But because we've done increasing, you're not going to do knits on top of knits and simples on top of simples because we've added 2 stitches there. Okay. But let's get an idea of what they look like. Okay. All right. So this was our full stitch right here. And then we did a knit stitch. And you can see it kind of pulls behind a little. And then we did a simple stitch. And then we did a knit stitch. It kind of goes behind. The simple stitch is a little bit forward. The knit stitch is behind. And they alternate all the way down. Okay. So that's one way to locate them. So we're going to go into make our full stitch here in the space. And we're going to repeat our row with a knit stitch into the first stitch, which had been a full stitch previously. Okay. So last time we had done the knit stitch here in this one because we didn't have this extra stitch here yet. So now we're going to be doing this as a, excuse me, we did a knit stitch and let me think about this. Hold on. Full stitch, knit stitch, simple. I think that's right. I'm going to look at mine because as I say that out loud. Let's look at this one here. Yes. You can see how they alternate as you work up, okay? And you get this little scratched, which is why she calls it a scratched look, back and forth. So let's do that. I'm going to do that one more time in the beginning. Okay. All right, so this had been on our previous row, this had been our full stitch, and this had been our knit, and this had been our simple and our knit and our simple and our knit. Okay, so now we're going to make another full stitch. I think I said it backwards the first time I said that. And then we're going to start with a knit stitch and then a simple. So we're going to knit into the ones that are kind of pushed to the back and simple into the ones that are towards the front. Okay. So that was full stitch, knit, simple, knit, simple, knit, simple in the ones that are towards the front. And what that does is it pushes it to the back. Okay. And knit, simple. They do alternate. It's the, I think I said it backwards though, as the first time. This goes much faster than the purl. Knit, simple. I hope you're finding the knit stitch easy to make. Simple. Knit, simple, knit. All right, so you should end, as you come up to that marker, you should end with a knit because your next one is going to be a full, which would be like the simple, and then another knit, which is your center stitch. Okay, so it makes the increase for it. All right, so I'm going to just a return pass back across these so you can see what it looks like with 2 rows on top of each other. Okay, here we go. So you get this little scratched look. Knits on top of simples and simples on top of knits. Okay, so you're going to repeat that pattern row 7 more times. So a total of 8 times to get 149 stitches. So this section is a little bit bigger, but it looks nice up against that one. All right. So I hope you're finding this easy to do. Um, you should have enough time between this month and next month to get those 2 sections done because they're on the shorter side. And then next month, we're going to do section 4, which is a basket weave, which is a 3-row pattern. So it's not just 1 row repeated. So I think that'll be a good one. And then the following month, we get into a little color work using 2 colors. So that'll be fun too. I hope you're enjoying this project. Again, if you've got questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And or if you're local, come into the shop. I'm happy to help you. And if I'm not there, I am there every day except Saturday now. Megan is very good at Tunisian crochet and can help with this also. So hope to see you soon. Thanks so much for taking part in our Project Monday, and we'll see you next time. Bye.